Yeah.
Yes.
What up? What up?
What up?
We're back, baby.
You know it.
And this episode's real special, man.
Yes, sir. We have a very special guest today. Very special guest that went through a lot to get to where he's at today.
Special friend. We've known him for a minute. His intro needs an intro, like I said. It's dope, man. It's dope to have you on the show. You know, it's gonna be real good to tell your story, and a lot of people are gonna be touched, man. I guarantee you for sure. Great friend. Let me get some horns. Let me get an applause for Paolo. Yeah, baby. What's up, Paolo, man? How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
That's what's up, man.
It's our pleasure. Our pleasure.
So, like I said, man, let's get to it. You know, let the people know who you are, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. So thanks for having me. I met Jeffrey and Alex through work, and then over the years we've just kind of gelled as just the guys, and it's very refreshing to talk to them. So I don't even know where to start, but I will start at some point. So when I was 22 years old, I was in school studying marine biology, and for a summer I went to South Africa to study sharks, coincidentally. And so we were out there, and I was out there about a month. And just a regular day, probably just a regular calm, sunny day. We were doing pretty much every day swimming with sharks. So it was like nothing. People look at me like I'm crazy. Like, I know you're looking at me earlier.
That's nice, man. I didn't know that
swimming
stuff.
With sharks?
Yeah.
No, that's not.
What is it called? Oceanography?
Oh, I took that class in college, bro. I fell asleep every day.
That's deep. That's dope. So tell us, man.
So I did go to school for marine biology, and at the time, you know, I just wanted as much experience as I could get. Also, like the idea of traveling and surfing. So I did go to South Africa for a summer, and one day, just like any day, we're just swimming with the sharks, and I felt a large tug on my leg, and I knew right away what it was. I knew what was going on, and probably I don't know how, but I did not panic at all. I knew exactly what was happening, and I just look down and I see a sea monster, obviously.
Right.
So I had to fight it off 3 times.
Do you punch them in the nose? People say to punch them in the nose, and it works.
They're big. It's a big shark. They know little puppy.
Wow, man.
How big was it, Paolo? Was it like
so
big?
I didn't get that good of a look at it, but I remember. I'll get to it. I'll tell you how big it was. So I felt a huge tug on my leg. And you're in the middle of the ocean, and it's very deep, so not like you hit a rock or something, you know, not like somebody grabbing your leg or something. So I got bit on my calf, and the first bite I kind of rolled out of it. I feel like I've been a fighter my whole life, so it just came natural. I got bit on my leg, I rolled out of it. Luckily, I had a wetsuit that gives you a little room for air.
Something.
Definitely. I think I had like a 4mm wetsuit on, so that gives you 4mm of cushion and help.
Cushion, yeah, man.
So I rolled out of the first bite. The shark was swimming back at me, and I remember just seeing it swimming at me, and I'm swimming backwards, and I had my fins like this, and I remember just kicking it in the face as it was coming at me, or just shoving.
Right, trying to get it away.
Yeah.
You have your fins, and you have a good bit of room where it's not biting you. So I was like, let it bite, you know.
The rubber, the little thing. Yeah.
The rubber, let it bite the fin. So I just kept kicking it and putting my fins between me and the shark, and I'm swimming backwards. I don't know when, but I did lose my air supply. So this is all in one breath of air. And because people are like, oh, you passed out. And I'm like, that's called drowning.
Yeah.
You can't pass out underwater. That's drowning. So this is all in one breath of air. I don't remember losing my air supply, but I do remember just being on one breath the whole time. I just remember swimming backwards, and the shark came in on me, and it bit me right on the thigh. And I remember I grabbed it by the head, and to speak of how big it was, I didn't see, kind of hard to see what's going on, but when I grabbed it, its head was as wide as my shoulders.
Oh, dear God.
So a fish big enough to bite you in half, literally big enough to bite you in half. So I remember I grabbed it like this, and I literally just like, I don't know, just like flipped him off of me. And he came back again. He came back around again. So I had in the third time he got me on the calf. And I knew, I was like, you're not rolling out of this. You're not, this is a fight to the death, literally. So I ended up, I was punching it. That doesn't do a lot. It helps, but it's a big fish. Like, it's not a little
And on the
puppy.
water, I don't think you can punch as hard.
Yeah,
You know?
you know.
They're tough. These things have lived for tens of
Yeah.
millions of years.
Yeah.
They're not just backing down off a couple little punches.
Not only that, bro, it takes guts to do what you were doing. Like, just.
I wasn't
like
scared.
The third time, not once, not twice.
I'm trying to imagine it,
third
man.
times.
Damn. That's traumatic for sure, man.
So what saved me was like not panicking or not, and
Right.
I think this is a metaphor for life. And what I kept saying in my head was, "You've been in worse fights.
Right,
like
right,
this
right.
isn't. This is okay. You've been in worse fights. Obviously, worst fight of my life. This is a drag them out to the death kind of fight."
And you
I-
were doing something that you love doing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's the crazy part about it. 1 second, you're living your dream, and every fiber in your body is like, "This is amazing," and then the next second, you're like, "Oh snap!"
Like, wait, yeah.
I'm going down. My
That
dream
could
is
be
going
your
down.
last breath. you
What
just
was
took.
not supposed to happen just happened.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? Where? Me? Why?
What you
know?
think it's never gonna happen to you, it happens.
It
Because I
happens,
remember
yeah,
with
yeah.
me, like, oh, don't. If you get one, why don't you get a coffin with it? I'm like, it's never gonna happen to me. And boom.
It happens, man.
All right, sorry to interrupt. My man. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
so
keep
I
going.
was thinking in my head, why me? Why is this happening? And then I'm also thinking, like, I've been in worse fights. This isn't, you've been in worse scenarios.
Not
Like,
the
you can
first
fight,
time.
you can punch yourself out of this. And I literally did. So I was punching and fighting, and it got to the point where I was like, there's not a lot of air left in my lungs. I mean, granted, I could tell this story for years, but like, it was only like 45 seconds, maybe
Yeah,
a minute of holding your breath.
Right,
It
it
felt like
feels
an
like forever.
eternity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds like a whole movie.
And you were by yourself?
Yeah, in hindsight, that was probably the bad part about it was there was people free diving, but I was the only one down on scuba, or there was one other person with me. So in hindsight is 2020. I was not in a good scenario. I was by myself. People are always like, "Oh, people help you," and it's like, in the heat of the moment, it only happens in 30 seconds. You know, it's a fight or flight, and most people just fight. That's just how it goes. I had a fight. I don't have a chance. I couldn't run. So,
Daytime or nighttime?
It was the middle of the day. It was like 11.
Okay.
It was the middle of the day. It was like the clearest, calmest day. It was like the best day
A
ever.
lot of people around, or just.
It's
couple
South
of
Africa.
you guys?
There's nobody. You're in the
nobody's
middle.
out there just-
You're in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my
You're the
God.
only boat out there. The only other boats out there are the ones killing the sharks. So that's the ironic part about it is we're studying the sharks, and then the other boat out there is killing them. So
Okay.
it just goes both ways. But so it got to the point where I'm just like, I have no air in my lungs. I took my right hand, grabbed it by the nose, and then I took my left hand with this is the tough part is I stuck it in the corner of the shark's mouth. So the top jaw came right here, the bottom jaw came right here. When I did obviously get out of this, this little piggy and this little piggy were hanging by a thread. Like,
Threads.
literally, these two fingers, I don't know how I still have them, but I still have them. So I put my left hand in the pretty much between the top. I wedged it between the top and bottom jaw. I took my right hand and just probably pried it maybe all of a quarter of an inch, enough to just escape. I swam to
get
the
away from
surface. I got a breath. And I was back in the boat in a second. Like, I swam back to, I don't know how or what, just adrenaline, but I was back. And I even threw myself in the boat with all the gear on.
Right.
Like, usually, like, you take off your gear, you hand it to somebody, then you jump in the boat. Like, obviously, I'm not waiting for
So
anything.
you didn't lose your leg on the attack
No, so my leg
from
was there.
complications of the attack.
I did look at my leg for about a half a second.
Great.
And I knew it wasn't
was
coming
back.
back. It's
Right,
not
right.
coming. That leg isn't coming back. We were obviously you floated back to the beach,
Right.
and I remember them.
The
telling
people that
me-
helped you out, like, do you remember what they were saying and going through, or not
Were
really?
they part of the group that you were with?
Yeah, there was like 5 or 6 of us on the boat that day.
They were
It was the
freaked
same-
out, I'm sure. They were.
Yeah. Everyone's like everyone's in panic mode, and I stayed calm, but like everyone else was pretty panicked and a
Right.
lot of yelling and screaming. And I remember on the way home, and it makes sense. They're like, "We're gonna put a tourniquet on your leg." I mean, there was a lot of blood, a lot of blood. When I talked to the surgeons, they told me I had 80% of my blood transfused between
Jesus.
surgery and trauma. It's a lot of blood, and
Right.
so on the way home, we have weight belts on. So I had a belt, and they're like, "We're gonna tourniquet your leg." And initially, I said no. I was like, "No, don't tourniquet the leg. It'll be fine." And then probably 5 minutes later, I realized when I looked in the back of the boat, and I'm like, ooh, we might need a tourniquet here. Because you're making a conscious decision. And I knew in the moment, you're sacrificing your leg to save your life. You save your leg, your life is gone.
And this is where safety comes in. Like, people don't know something as simple as a tourniquet can save your life, bro. Like, you can carry it with you. When you go into this dangerous environment, you need to be safe.
Right. So that was a it did say initially I did turn down the tourniquet, and then initially it probably saved my life. So we got to the beach. It's South Africa, so there's no marina, there's no port. They just drive the boat right up onto the sand, and then you have a winch that like winches the boat up. They got me off the boat pretty quick. There was an ambulance waiting for me, so they put me on IVs. I think we waited, it seemed like an eternity, probably like 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. Helicopter came. First and probably only helicopter ride of my life. Get on the helicopter. I was totally alert during the whole scenario. I even remember they had me like all strapped down, and I took off the seatbelt so I could see where we were going. Like, I didn't want to be strapped down. I felt like so helpless.
I've done the same thing.
So I guess my hand was good enough, or my left hand was messed up, but I took the seatbelts off, and I was just sitting up there, like literally talking to the pilot, like flying, being like, does it go any faster?
Yeah.
And it took probably a good half hour to get, we're in, Africa's different. I don't know how to explain Africa. It's literally the jungle. There are cities. Mm-hmm. We were a good distance out of the city, so it took a good 30 minutes by helicopter ride to get to the hospital. Oh, wow. We landed on the roof of the hospital, and my last memory was they gave me
margaritas, happy margaritas.
I just remember counting. I remember them pushing me into the hospital, counting down from 10. I made it to about 4 or 3, and then I didn't wake up till 12 hours later.
Right.
So 12 hours later, I woke up. Crazy story. I could still feel my leg, but it was gone. And crazy story. The surgeon comes up. He's like, "We saved your life, but we had to take your leg." And I literally just pulled back the covers, and I was like, it was absolute shock. And that shock didn't go away for a long time.
I remember mine.
Because it was kind of like you knew, but it's not until you see that it hits you.
It hits you hard.
I remember when I find out about mine. So I'm laying down. It's like 2, 3 in the morning, and I remember, and I wake up, and I call the nurse. And the nurse, she comes in, and I'm like, can you please help me put my leg in the bed? So she lifts the blanket. She's like, "Oh, your leg is in the bed." I was like, no, I feel my leg out of the bed. She's like, "Your leg is in the bed." I'm like, "Dude." She's like, "You had a motorcycle accident. We had to amputate your leg." I was like, "Oh, great. Can you call my father, please?" Man, it was
always tough, man.
I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Things hit you pretty hard and pretty quick. And the crazy part is you can still feel your leg. Like, the way your nervous system's built, I won't get into the anatomy of it. But your brain, I was 22, so that's 22 years of your brain knowing your leg's right there. Mm-hmm. And you could still feel it. And it's just...
It's sending those signals, and it's like,
I get horrible phantom pains till 18 years later. Like, phantom pain, like, get me out of the bed. Like, I have to get out of the bed and everything.
I'm lucky. I only had it for a few years. When I was driving, too, the worst scenario. When you're driving, I would get phantom pains. And luckily, I can't, probably maybe a year or two. It's very, very seldom I ever get phantom pains. Luckily, it's different for everybody.
I remember when I talked to the doctor, he said some people never have them. Some people do their whole life. With me, they have never gone away, man. I've done every test. I've taken every medication possible. They've done every injection possible. It doesn't go away. It stays there with me.
It's tough.
Like, sometimes, like today, at work, I was helping one of my assistants, and I forgot that I was missing a leg. So I told her, "Can you please get up so I can sit on the chair?" Like, you still forget after 18 years, to your point. Like, I shower sometimes, and I feel the water dripping down my leg. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and you still want to go and scratch. I don't know if that happens to you or not.
I don't get it anymore, but I've had plenty of scratchy. Like, you wake up and you're like, "Man, my ankle is just so itchy today."
Right?
And you scratch your knee, like where your residual limb, and that kind of works a little bit.
It works for me.
What was your experience like? Because you went to ICU, right?
Yeah, I was in ICU.
How was that, like, hospital experience for you? Do you wish back there you were given more info, or what would you change knowing what you knew now back then?
Well, before we go there, how long did it take you to get back to the States?
Yeah, so things are a little different in Africa. They took very good care of me in Africa, which I don't envision that being everywhere all the time, but luckily the hospital they took to me, it's not like here in the States, but they had everything they needed.
Okay.
Nothing extra, but everything you need. I want to say there was like 3 or 4 surgeans that worked on me during my surgery. There was people like congratulating me afterwards. I was like, you guys did this surgery, but all right.
Yeah, and you congratulating me. Like, man, because I get it, because just your attitude through the whole process, you going through the helicopter ride, going through the swimming, getting to the doctors, getting to the hospital, and you kept yourself
cool.
calm. You kept
Yeah.
your cool. You were nice to everybody. You kept the conversation going. People admire that. That's something to admire.
Yeah, I've always been that way. I've always had, I think I got it from my parents, just that I never get too high on anything. I never get too low on anything. I keep things, in sailing we call it even keel. You keep things even keel.
Right.
And the ship never tips, you know?
That's good, man.
It's admirable.
Yeah.
So keeping things even keel. So I did spend 2 weeks in South Africa.
Okay.
My parents came out about 48 hours later. They were out in South Africa with me. They'd only come they'd only let them come for 1 hour a day. So that kind of stunk. But just to know
How did they take it?
they didn't really show it. They didn't really show it a lot.
They were supportive and
They were amazing, but they didn't really show it that much.
Yeah.
They just kept strong. They didn't really show it. For some reason, they'd only let them visit for like an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, which was like, it was nice to know that they were right down the road, and
Yeah, nice to know that you have family with you. You're not by yourself. Yeah.
Right, and I will say they did take very good care of me. The nurses were amazing. Obviously, they have a very different culture there. Things are very different.
Right, different.
But they did take really good care of me, and a couple months later, my surgeon was in the States, just haphazard for a conference. My parents invited him over, and he spent a night at the house. We went out to like the nicest restaurant. So, and he was like very proud of his work. What they did, or especially on my leg, there wasn't much they could do, but on my hand, they essentially grafted everything back together, including the nerves, which is essentially, they're blindly sewing, and
you gain full everything on that hand.
I wouldn't say full, but enough.
Enough to be
Enough
normal.
that you can do what you
Enough.
got.
And you just adapt. So 2 weeks in South Africa, I came back and I was in rehab in a hospital. I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware. So I spent, I want to say 2 weeks in the rehab.
Shout out to Delaware.
Yes.
Where's
thank you.
Delaware at?
Wilmington. They took very good.
right?
Keep going.
They took very good care of me, and I met a bunch of great therapists and a bunch of great doctors there. So I had 2 weeks there of rehab. I had OT and PT every day. I'd have like 3 hours, and then my therapists were so great, they would see me during their lunch break. Their day would end. They'd say, "You want more?" They would come to my room after their shift would end to give me more therapy, and I never turned it down. So.
Right.
Because it shows how special you are, man.
They didn't quit. There was no quit in them.
So you had a good experience through all that.
As good as you could. Circumstances, I was very well taken care of. Luckily, my parents are physicians, so they were able to point me in the right direction. They were. It's tough navigating the medical world, and luckily, I had that in my back pocket.
Right.
And that's something I would never take for granted, but in the time, in the moment, it was definitely nice to just have that for me. So
The
I
support and all of that.
spent 2 weeks just getting stronger, just doing the most basic things of like, how do you get dressed? How do you take a shower? The nurses would help me with dressing. I had a bunch of wounds on my hand and obviously my leg. They changed the dressing every day. So 2 weeks there. Then I went home for 2 weeks, and that was tough because like when you're by yourself, when you're surrounded by people, and you said this the other day, Jeffrey, and I was like, oh, it's so true.
During that episode, had you seen or met anyone else with an amputation or not yet?
I didn't want. People offered to come to my room, and I don't know. It's
You
denial.
declined it.
Yeah. It's just like
I did the
you don't
same.
want to
Yeah.
face reality, and they'd be like talking to you some days, and they'd be like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Reality is what's wrong." Like I don't know how to put this,
Right, you
but
go
like
through your.
it's a lot to swallow, and you wake up every morning, and you gotta like. Have you ever watched 50 First Dates? I would say.
Yes.
You have to like retell.
Oh my
like
God.
nobody handed me a newspaper, but like I would have to retell myself the story every day and be like, "This is real life. This is not a dream. This is real life."
I remember. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
I
Yeah.
remember the psychologist coming into my room and ordering the Zoloft for depression. I was like, "What medication you gonna give me?
No.
That is gonna make me forget that I don't have it. Like the only way is
I
when
remember
I'm
that
knocked
guy
the
in
hell
my-
out,
coming in my room.
And to your point, the same thing. I used to just every morning before I woke up, I used to keep my eyes open. I'd be like, "Come on, I'm gonna wake up and my blanks are gonna be like this." How it used to be before.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, crap, reality just hit again. It's difficult, man.
Reality
It's hard.
is heavy. It's very heavy, and just like you'd be like, "Oh, you can't accept it." It's just like I was 22. I was in college. You have no worries in the world, not a bill in the world. You're just coasting, scuba diving, surfing
Chilling.
every day, and then it's like things just got real in the blink of an eye.
So
Different.
after the accident, what was your experience like? Because now you mentioned that you were going to school. So
Yeah.
did you stay on the same field? You change?
Did it bother you? Say, for example, when I got injured and I started stepping out into the world as an injured person.
yeah,
I used to be like, man, why are people looking at me like
Yeah,
this? Or,
heavy.
so.
I remember one night I just went I left my parents' house and they had a wheelchair for me, and amazing. My friend's dad came over the first day I was home, built a ramp for me.
Oh,
Built a
that's
ramp.
amazing.
He just built a ramp for me. So I had a ramp, I had a wheelchair. So that was nice. And I wheeled to my friend's house. And that I just felt so alone. I felt like and it was dark, but it was like there's a couple people on the street, and I just felt like everyone's staring at you.
Yeah.
And you just like, I went to my friend's house. He didn't have a ramp at his house, so he didn't care. He just picked, he and his cousin just picked me up and put me in the house. But like leaving my parents, like not being in my parents' house for the first time, that was like really, really tough. And then just like leaving the house, or like people would come and visit you, or just like I would roll around the neighborhood just to like get some sun or just get out of the house. And like people are like looking at you like an atomic bomb's gonna go off.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and people are like, "Did it hurt? How are you?" And it's like, how does it look? This is the worst thing ever.
How are you? I don't know, lady. Look at me.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like,
Because they try to be nice, you know.
I know they don't know what to say.
Yeah. They're just,
They don't know what to say. Wow, man. That's me personally. I didn't want to see anybody.
No,
I didn't want to hear
wasn't
like
good with
everything happens for a reason.
Oh, God.
I didn't want to hear none of that. How many everything happens for a reason you got?
Hey, what's that look that people give you when you're like, they're walking by you and you're in the wheelchair, they go,
Yeah. Because if they see one, it's okay.
that's like
If they see
that's
two,
the universal.
3 people in a wheelchair, or if they see us, they think it's contagious. Like, oh my God, three disabled people. Oh my God, we're gonna catch you.
Or like a little kid will be looking and they're just staring. And the parents are like, "Don't stare. That's rude." And then I look up and they're staring just as hard, and I'm like, hey,
You know, I don't mind telling, especially kids. Kids are
I can't
innocent,
tell my
you know.
story to kids.
But no, I don't mind if they ask me. What happens? Sometimes I ask the parents. Is it okay if I tell them? Of course, you want to make sure that the parents are okay. If not, sometimes I listen to your mom, and you want to know what happened. I didn't listen to mom. I didn't listen to dad.
I didn't do my homework.
Yeah, no. I don't want to.
I'll be the straightest kid ever.
I want to get punched in the face by the mother, man. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I did go home for a little bit, and then when I got my prosthetic, it took a little bit. I think it took 7 weeks to my memory. There was a lot of swelling in my residual limb, so it took 7 weeks just for me to get fitted with the prosthetic, and I even think that was rushing it at 7 weeks.
How was the pain getting used to it?
You're on so many pain. You can't even feel your face. I'll be honest. You can't even I get hurt. Like you're in pain, but it's just like. They make you as comfy as possible.
Yeah, because
morphine is crazy.
people out there listening and watching, they think you lose a limb, you get a prosthetic, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah.
That's the process. Boom, boom, boom,
it's very
done.
simple. You just go, you get out of the hospital.
They got a prosthetic.
and
He's
you got a
okay.
leg waiting for you outside with a bow.
Because then now there's a process from rehab, recuperation. Now
Is
comes
when the fun
getting
starts.
learned to prosthetics and
Yeah.
then learning how to walk, learning how did that go?
Right. So I did watch your first episode, and you guys did do a huge shout out to your wives and your fiancés.
Yes.
And I have to do a huge shout out to my mom, my dad, and my
Yeah.
brother, and all my family, because I didn't
For
direct
sure.
any of my therapy. My mom and my dad directed
Let me get a
everything
little
for
applause.
me.
Let me get a little applause for the family. Where we at? Yeah.
So like my mom directed all my therapy, which was great. Being a physician, she had already had a relationship with the doctors that I was working with. Delaware is a very small state. Everybody knows each other. So I don't even know. I know how it went, but like, you know, how they negotiated or how they figured out. But what they figured out was if I went to inpatient, I would be able to get the most therapy through insurance. Insurance is obviously a make or break here.
Yes.
So I did inpatient. I think I want to say I did 2 weeks of inpatient, 3 hours a day, lunch breaks, and after my therapist finished their shift, they would come to the room, they would bring movies, they'd be like, I need you to stand up and walk around. Like they were
active.
But were you one of those that always showed that you wanted to do it? You know,
Yes.
That's probably why. You know, they show that you wanted to get better. They show that no matter what the obstacle was, they saw you that you wanted to go ahead and accomplish your goal of getting better and getting out of it.
Yes, and I'm a therapist now, and I can tell you right now, you know, when you have a patient that's about it, it's so much easier. When you have a patient that's like when's the 45 minutes going to be over, or you can just take off today, it's so much harder. The person that like wants all the therapy, it's just so much easier. Your day goes by like that, and you enjoy doing that. The person that's like, leave me alone and this and that. I guess when it came to peer mentoring or people to come up to me, I was like, leave me alone. When it came to therapy, I was all for it. So you know, I had all that help, and it was great. So I spent 2 weeks in the hospital learning about my new prosthetic. At the time, I had I want to call it the robot leg because it was so loud. It was so loud. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but I had a prosthetic. It was, so most of them before, I got injured 12 years ago. So up until about then was probably about the turning point of having your manual leg that you control on your own. And what I have right now, I have a C leg, C for computer. There's a battery I charge in here. It helps me. It has a hydraulic in it, so it helps me through my steps. I could not live my life without my current prosthetic and the prosthetics that I've had. So just learning, like when I was in therapy, sit to stand. I spent days on just sitting and standing, taking a couple steps in the parallel bars. You know, just taking on and off the prosthetic. I remember one time they want you to get used to the prosthetic, and I couldn't take it off.
Oh, Jesus.
And I had and it's all about the angle. It's not about strength. It's all about, you'll learn just everything and most things in life. It's not about so much the strength. It's more about the technique. A little bit of technique. So I didn't even know the technique of I don't even know what angle. I just do it without even thinking now.
Right.
But
It's a pocket of air.
Yeah. I had 3 therapists trying to pull the leg off because they couldn't get it off.
I want to ask you a question before you continue. So for you, every time I had mine on, when I took it off, like let's say to go to a restaurant or whatever, I could never put it back in the same spot.
I think you just get used to that after a while.
I could never put it back in the same spot, bro. I have to walk around
a learning curve.
the wall, wheeling myself with the leg.
It's definitely a learning curve. So after my 2 weeks, you know, of getting gait therapy or learning how to walk, I would have outpatient therapy. I'd have outpatient OT and PT. Okay. The OT would be for my hands. I had so many injuries to my hands. I had zero function. I would put this hand probably about 40%, you know, years later. And I really did work on it a lot. And to this day, like the therapy I use for my hand is pretty much just using it as much as possible. I force things into my left hand. I'm always trying to use my left hand for as much as possible.
Keep it active.
Yeah,
because I was not using it.
Keep that muscle memory going.
Yeah.
And my therapist is like, I'm gonna tie your right hand behind your back because you're not using your left hand for anything. Or like even when you're driving, I would take my right hand and reach across like this, just to like do the blinker or like the windshield wipers.
You found a little comfort zone.
Yeah,
just use your right hand for everything. So definitely just consciously force everything into my left hand and try to use my left hand for a lot of things. So I did, you know, I had a couple years of therapy. So long story short, people are always like, how did you do so well? Like, what is the recipe for success? And I'm just going to be blunt about it. Money doesn't solve all your problems, but it does solve a lot of problems.
Right.
Gives you opportunities
I'm gonna just be straight up about it. I'm not gonna act like, oh, some fairy came down and just blessed me. Like the fairy was my mom and dad. And the great part about it was my parents are both they're physicians, and they knew how important therapy was. So for all my injuries, I'm gonna have you guys guess. So for all my injuries, how many PT and OT visits combined do you think I was awarded after I left the hospital for outpatient in total?
I'm gonna say
a week or
hours
month?
a week.
A week?
Like for like 2 months. Probably.
How many sessions?
I want to say
3 or 45 minutes.
5 maybe.
A little more. They gave me 30 PT and OT sessions.
Period.
That runs up in 3 to 4. That runs up in a month. Just call it a month.
Yeah, 1 month and you're done.
And then you got to wait another year until you get another
So you're
30.
You're qualified for another 30.
So the blessing was my parents just paid for therapy. Yep. They knew and they paid for therapy. And then down the road, one of these days, and granted, you get the therapy bill, and you can every therapy bill you get, every medical bill you get, ask for it itemized. Ask them to reduce the price. Say, you cannot afford this. Can't afford $30,000 for this and that. And I saw my bill for 6 weeks of therapy between PT and OT. Granted, it was out of network and it was discounted. It was like 15 grand.
It's very expensive.
Do you know if there's any programs that cover stuff like that?
So I just called him up. I said, you need to itemize this. You need to discount this even more.
Right.
And they helped me out. And to be honest, my parents wanted to keep me ignorant of that kind of stuff and just have me focus on therapy. Right. But me seeing that bill taught me a very valuable lesson. The lesson was you got to be your own therapist.
Yep.
You have to be your own therapist. And I love going and seeing my therapists. They're great people. They're very entertaining. But at the end of the day, who can afford this? So I was like, you have to be your own therapist. And I did go, but I would go less. But then I would always ask questions and then just do it myself at home. And as a patient and as a therapist, we're always you get your home exercise program. And in the beginning, I would take that paper, throw it right in the garbage. Be like, I'm done with therapy.
Most people do that.
And that's 90% of people. And after a while, I started keeping those papers. Or you just learn the exercise until you don't need the little piece of, this is your home exercise this is your homework.
Yeah.
And I just started being my own therapist and just being active. And I will say, so I had my family, and then this is where your friends come in. So I had, I was in college. I went to I won't say what college I went to, but I was going to college. I was down here in Florida, and I was I wouldn't say I was very popular, but you just have a huge social network. Okay. You're in school. You don't have a job. You're just hanging. I mean, literally, you have school 2 hours a day. You were hanging out the rest of the day, just hanging out.
Just chilling.
And Jeffrey, you mentioned this the other day, and it's totally true. So really quickly, you realize who your real friends are. And a lot of people fade. A lot of people fade really quickly.
And you think it's mostly because they're ignorant to how to react towards what happened to you? Because I don't think they do it out of malicious feelings or nothing like that.
In my opinion, like life goes on. Everybody keeps moving.
Yes.
But to his point, if you and I rode together for like 2-3 years, we've been hanging out
who
for
stays
like 10,
for real,
5-6 years,
Yeah.
10 years, and then you just walk away because we can party together, or I'm not able to go to a nightclub right now with you or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. So a lot of people go through that during their injury.
Yeah, people fade, or like people come to you and they'll like, I hate telling my story, and for this I love it because it's like you're educating people. But after a while, I got so tired of telling my story.
Because everywhere you go, hey, what happened? Again,
you're like an entertainment. You're like a show or something. I was like, I'm not here for your entertainment. This ain't the news.
I'd be like, about what?
I have people in the bathroom ask me what happened while I'm standing in the stall.
Like, yo, what happened?
They said all the things.
You'd be like, yo, hold on, let me whip out,
I have people thanking me for your service. Like, it happens.
I've had that before.
And that was
you're welcome.
But that one was in the bathroom. So I'm standing, I usually look for a stall, and I couldn't find the stall. It was at the movies. So I'm like, whatever, let me just stand. Right? So this guy comes to me, he's like, thank you for your service. And I'm standing up.
You're like, what?
I'm like, I'm like holding my wee-wee right now.
Like what?
But then I looked at him, I'm like, 5 toys. fuck. What are you going to say at that time? You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to say?
That's crazy.
In the bathroom, people have no filter, man.
No.
Yeah.
No. So after a while, I did get tired of telling my story, and not that I feel ashamed of it. I do feel silly about it, but for many years, I just got so tired of my story. You know what was the easiest story? I'm a veteran.
It
made such an easy story. Nobody asked any questions. And then over the years, I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to steal. You don't want to steal valor or anything like that from them. You know what I mean? Like that's something that they earned. But yeah, to your point, it's true. You get just tired of people just assuming that you are a veteran.
Yeah.
Or just be like, tell me a story now. Like you're on the spot. And I did meet a lot of veterans.
Or maybe they use that just to spark a conversation sometimes. It's like, why?
I like that. I'm so sorry.
Right?
For what? Was it your fault? Like,
I've had that
before. Was it your fault?
And you kind of get shocked because they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you're like,
why?
What?
Were you there? You saw it happen?
You feel like what? You're crazy, but it happens. You know, some people just don't know how to come about it. So
right.
But that's what we're here for, to provide that information.
Yeah, people watch and do all that stuff, man. But
so we're here. Stories like Paolo inspire people.
Inspiring, no, because Paolo, after your injury, you still went back on the water. I know you dive.
So yeah, that's what I was getting to. So my family definitely got me through the therapy part. Obviously, financially, they supported me. I'm not working a job. I'll be straight up honest. I'm not working a job. They're paying for my rent, paying for my food. Like I'm not gonna lie about this. But what I did mention about people fall away from you, you'd be surprised about the people who do surface. And you have your close friends, and then there's other people who you don't really think was a close friend, and they surface, and they're ready to rally around you, and it's you got to just embrace those people.
And
like
to listen, they're ready to listen.
Yeah,
they want to learn. They want to go along for the ride.
Not only along for the ride, they really, really want to listen and understand what you're going through, to feel that compassion, to feel that connection. The same, I can relate to you.
Right.
I see that in my wife's eyes all the time.
Or help you. There's people that go out of their way to help you all the time.
It's not common. So when someone does want to help you, take advantage. Definitely. Don't. I push people away, and I always tell people, when they go through their injury.
At first,
you're like pushing people away. You want to be independent, and it's like, don't do that. In the beginning, just take all the help you can get. I had a friend. He would come. And he would go grocery shop. He would go to Publix with me. He would definitely eat like half the food I bought, but he would go to Publix with me every single week. He said, "Do you need help with your laundry?" Wow. We're still friends to this day. We're still great friends to this day. And it was just like, and I thought, I was like, this guy is so weird. He's always calling.
He was eating all your food. He said, "Paolo, you gotta go buy groceries. I'm coming with you."
But then he'd come over. I had a dog. He'd walk my dog. He'd be like, "Oh, he would clean. He would clean the. He would be, we eat a bunch of food. He would clean the kitchen. He would cook. He's like, "Oh, let me show you how to cook this."
Oh, wow.
So he'd cook. He'd clean for me. He did come to the grocery store with me, but it was like, I was like
supportive.
I didn't know how to react to it at first, and then over the time, I was like, "That's a good friend right there. You got to hold on to this friend, and you don't even know. You're just regular friends, and all of a sudden, this friend's like,
to this point, I still push some people away sometimes. To this day, it's been 18 years. I still do that.
All right, so yeah, not just me, So like Ale was saying, for a long time, or in the beginning, and I hate to say psychotherapists made me think of this, but they would always be like, your life is different. And I'd be like, I miss basketball, I miss skateboarding, I miss surfing, like I miss these things. And my one psychotherapist told me, I won't blame him for it, but he's like, you should pick up hobbies like chess and reading books. I actually believe that. I believe that.
Yeah.
And then, that gets in your head, and I believed it, and I was like, I'm a different person, I'm going to live a different life.
That was in your early years, right?
Yeah, the first couple of years.
Remember, I think I mentioned it on the previous episode where when you're in the beginning stages of your injury, a lot of the things the professional people tell you stick to you.
Yeah, you think you're going to be able to do everything. Yeah. Oh, wait till I get out of here, boy, I'm going to be Superman.
At 2 p.m., every day drink water. Every day you're like 2 p.m. drinking water. You're like, what?
Then at the end of the week, you're still disabled.
Yeah, it's still the same thing. Yeah. 20 years later, you're like, I was being so dumb listening to that.
Hey.
So I would say, and everyone's time frame is different, and I'm skipping a lot of the story here, but everyone's time frame is different, and we could revisit these stories.
Yeah, every story is so unique.
Yeah, because we plan on having you back too, or further on we plan
on the
year
anniversary.
Yeah.
So So I thought I was gonna be a different person, and I really thought this for a while. And it took me, I would say, about 3 years, maybe even longer, to start feeling normal again. And I don't like using the word normal.
Yeah.
But where you just wake up and you're not in shock anymore. You're not looking down, not asking what happened, why
You don't
me.
think about it's a normal thing.
You're moving forward. You're not looking back. And then I wish it didn't take me 3 years. You're like, what would you done different?
Yeah.
Not perseverate on this for 3 years and just move forward. But it doesn't
I
happen.
will tell you this though. I'm sorry to interrupt. Therapy is very important. Group supports are very important. I was one of those that I thought that never.
Yeah,
No,
me
I
too.
don't want to do this, and
Me
look
too.
at us now.
Did you ever go
The
to
irony.
group support? Or no, not really.
I avoided it. I really
Most
avoided
amputees
it.
don't. It's funny though, because even in the line of work that we are, though, most amputees don't
Don't
come
go to
us 'cause
groups,
the
right?
majority of them are independent.
Yeah.
So they don't consider themselves disabled, I guess. So most of them don't really.
I don't know what it is.
participate.
It's such a wide range. Accepting it. I even had people come to my hospital room, and I'd be like, "Thank you for coming. Today's not the day."
Yeah.
And I'd be very stern about it. Today's not the day. Come back in a year. Come back in 2 years. And I didn't want any.
Come back never.
I didn't want to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah.
But to speak to my friends who just made me feel normal, or they'd surround you, and little by little, I remember getting back to things like fishing. Just simple things, or like going out to a bar, like the simplest little thing, going out to a bar and not like worrying about people bumping into you, or like asking you like just going out and just like. I remember one time, me and my friend, we went to a Heat game, and it just felt so normal. And I remember like walking around him, and there were so many people, and I just felt, how am I going to navigate
chill.
all these people? My friend's like, yeah, whatever. He didn't care. He was like,
That's
whatever.
how I felt the first time I drove after my injury. Like, you
Really?
feel the freedom. Like, oh my God, I'm able to do something like big. I can get away from people.
So going wherever you want to go on your own,
Yeah.
finally after so long.
So many years, man.
Right, like we went to a Heat game, and I was just worried about getting trampled by people. I was like, I walk so slow. People, I'm sure, like people aren't gonna see. People in Miami they don't care. They don't look for nothing. They're just running, and like I was with my friends.
Ping
and,
pong
like, it was
pong,
cool.
right over you.
Or like, I remember when we went to, and another thing, it was like I didn't even want to go, and my friend forced me to go, and it's actually this weekend. Funny, we went to Ultra Music Festival. And I'm like, how am I gonna do this? 40,000 people, obviously uneven surfaces. My friends are like, oh, if
Did you
walk
jump the gate or you went the regular way?
I paid.
Okay.
I paid to go. I paid.
We just check it because every time I look at the
paid.
news and there's a
There's
Miami
always one
concert,
disabled guy.
everybody, hold on, what? I know that guy in the wheelchair jumping the gate. What the hell? They say $5.
So no, I paid, and we went there, and I was like, I walk really slow, guys. I don't think I can do that much. They're like, we don't care. And at one point, I got tired. They literally just put me on their shoulders and just carry. Like when we were walking out, I was like, man, I need a rest. They're like, no, we gotta go, and they just lifted me. They didn't even think about it. They just put me on their shoulders, and they're like, we're going.
But those are the people that I usually, when my wife and I talk, I usually tell her, you, Alex, fiance, people that work with disabled individuals, they have different eyes. They look at people differently. They just don't see your disability. They see you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they see you. I remember when my injury happened, right? I had a girlfriend at the time. My girlfriend, I was the one that pushed her away. And one day my grandmother comes to me and she says, that was good. I was like, why are you telling me that? She's like, because you need to meet someone how you are right now. She only knows you on your good days. Now you are pooping to the side, peeing through a hose. You have your abdomen open from here to here, muscles to the side, So she said to me, whoever you meet like this, if she loves you now and your best, you're gonna have a blast. And I was like, oh shit.
Grandma.
Yeah, there you go,
Grandma knows best.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, that's what it is. So go ahead, you got great friends.
So yeah, just the friends, just to get you back to normal things, and like they don't care if it takes longer. They don't care if like maybe we won't. I remember in years previous, we would sprint from stage to stage to stage. So like, we'll just go to one stage and we'll stay at one stage. And I knew that was a sacrifice for them. This was a big being 22 years old. This is a huge sacrifice. But for them, they're just like, whatever.
Shout out
like,
to Paolo's friends, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, one time for the friends.
Yes.
So, just getting to normal things, and then we're gonna fast forward many, many years. But I took 8 years off from scuba diving, and I never thought I'd go scuba diving again. I was like, oh, that ship sailed. I'm good on that, right? And then you just meet people organically And they're like, we'll do another episode for adaptive scuba programs in
because
Florida.
I was gonna say we know a lot of great
Yeah.
scuba diving teams that offer scuba diving programs for people with disabilities.
Do you want to do it?
I think I'm gonna do it.
I thought about it. I'm down.
My fiance is like a mermaid, so we got to do the
No,
the
my wife
sea
said she stays on the
experience.
boat. She said I stay
She
on the
ain't
boat.
going in.
No, but next time you guys, I would love to do
They
that.
have
I'll
plenty
try.
of-
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
You start in the pool.
I'm nervous,
You
but
start in the pool. Like you start in, people are like, "Oh, I'm nervous." I'm like, "We go to a pool. Like
Yeah.
it's 5 foot of water. You can."
no, you know
some
what we
people
want to
can
do?
stand,
The,
but
the
yeah.
coral reef cleaning, right? The clean part.
I've
where
done
they
that.
do that. That's
it's hard,
pretty
but
cool.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of hooks in your fingers.
Wow.
I just don't want to see no barracudas, because that's where
there's-
they live. You're like,
There's plenty. You're gonna see. They're
Oh,
all over.
man.
I'm not gonna lie to you. They're all over.
tough. But yeah, no, but those programs are cool. We'll do an episode with them for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So fast forward, it took me 8 years to get back to scuba diving. I never thought I'd get back to surfing. My one friend would not. I went to California for my cousin's wedding. He would not take no for an answer. He slept on like the couch he slept on the couch in my hotel room. And the next morning, before the sun even comes up, he like jumps in my bed and is like, "We're going." And I'm like, "Nah, surfing. I don't really do surfing anymore." And
Right.
he was like, "It's not an answer. It's not an option." He was like, "What else are you gonna do today?"
I'll take your leg away.
How did you adapt to that? Because do you surf with a prosthetic or
I do have a prosthetic. So
that's
initially,
water?
I had one that was a little different, and that obviously a whole nother episode. I'll bring all my prosthetics next time. But so we went out there. I got up on a paddleboard, and I say that day I rode all the waves under the water rather than above the water. But like I didn't even care. I didn't even care. My friend took me to the beach. It was so normal. It was so regular. It was like, oh, and all these years I thought you've changed. You're not into surfing. You're not into like. Why would I even tell myself that? But like I thought that. I really just thought like. You got to put that behind you. That's your past life, and
The
it took
prosthetic
years.
legs, do they make it to where it weighs the same amount as your other leg, or that's different? No?
No,
different.
really.
It's all about functionality.
Okay, so it could be lightweight. Okay, I didn't know that.
For me, since I'm what is called a hip disc articulation, my amputation is very high. So
As
I
high
have
as possible.
nothing. There's no
So it's
nothing,
different,
no
right.
fin like Nemo or anything. So I actually have to sit inside like a bucket. So it's super, super, super uncomfortable.
Right, yeah.
So, and I have friends that tell me, "Oh, why are you lazy?" I'm like, dude, like honestly.
They don't know the effort that it takes. Yeah.
You seen the
In pain.
pictures that I've shown you of my pelvis, all the injuries, the bones, and
Yeah, no, it's
it
crazy.
hurts. I can't imagine your blisters, your sores, your things that you went through.
I
You
take
have
good
many?
care of my skin. I take really good
Yeah.
care of my
Checking
skin.
all the time. All
Wash
the time
your
checking.
liner every day. I need new liners, but yeah, wash your liner every day. Wash your skin every day. Even have these. There's I'll do a promo for her. I don't even know what it is, but somebody sent me these just essentially lotions to take
Right.
care of your skin. One for the night, one for the. I don't even follow the direction. I
Yeah,
just put
make
it
your
on every
skin tough
night.
and nice.
By the
yeah.
way, guys, we are not professional doctors. We are just three guys talking about
Experiences, life experiences.
things that have happened to us. So just to let you guys know.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
share
to your
information.
doctors.
It's the whole point. So just get back to like doing like today. I live as normal. Like I live my lifestyle how I did before
That's
my
amazing,
injury.
man. That's amazing.
It's adapted. It's totally adapted. It's totally different. But I'm as much as I thought I wasn't gonna be the same person. And I think other people go through this. You're the same person. You have not
Right.
changed.
Yeah.
You are the
You
same.
are.
It's just
are.
different in
Person.
different ways depending on your disability.
Different
for sure.
technique, different method, a little extra equipment. I always say a couple extra chargers here and there.
Right.
Now, question: does your disability ever frustrate you?
Yeah, every day.
Like in
Every
what
day.
sense? Like for example, like when you want to do something, or like
Anytime I go upstairs, I mean, I know
Right.
that's a
okay.
tough for
You
you
think
guys
about
too.
it. Yeah, you think about
one
it.
step ruins your day. Like damn it.
You think about it, or you're always like, or just like looking at the ground all the time to make sure you have the right footing, or just like seeing people.
Or
like
you're
hop
rolling and not
skip.
hit a sidewalk. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
No, the little rocks on the tire, boom. And you just flip.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's crazy how all these injuries have the same issues. You know.
Similarities.
Yeah,
you know,
man,
nerves
it's
and
weird.
things. So does your leg have the locking mechanism in case you fall? Does it slow down when you're going down?
I don't think so. I think that is part of it, but I've never like used it.
Okay.
It works really well. If I didn't have this leg, I would not have the lifestyle I have. I could get into a whole insurance story, but that's another. That's still another episode.
Yeah.
But so yeah, just getting back. I live as normal as possible. I go scuba diving. I mean, I work Monday through Friday.
Right.
Another episode for another time. But I ended up becoming, when I learned I had to become my own therapist. I still went to therapy to learn and to push myself, you know, therapeutic wise, but maybe only once a week, maybe every other week, just to keep pushing myself forward. And then one day I told my therapist, unjokingly, I was like, enjoy your job. I'm taking it one day.
Well, you did.
And there it is.
Became one. Applause for my man. Some applause for my man right there.
So, at
sure.
first, it started as a joke, or kind of like a joke, or, you know, just a little ribbing. And then I just started looking into it. I started researching it. And then one day I told my parents, I was working for the EPA at the time. I was doing all right, but I'm living at home with my parents. I'm making enough money to make a car payment and put gas in my car. That's it. And then I just told my parents one day, I said, I want to go to therapy school. Obviously, I don't have the money. I can't pay for rent. But this is my plan.
Right.
And they were so happy. I mean, God bless them. They were so happy for me, and they're like, just go for it. And I'm lucky I had that, because when I was in school, every other kid had a loan over their shoulders and on their back.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, that's one less. I got enough pressures on me. That's one less pressure to have. And I did worry if, you know, I'd be strong enough or have what it takes to become a therapist, because you really got to help people.
What about resources, though? When you came home and before you became a therapist, do you have any resources, anything that was difficult for you? Do you know where to go? Well, yeah, you did mention that your parents were physicians, so they knew how to navigate the channels properly. So for you, it was just a smooth ride.
I wouldn't say it was smooth, but like
in comparison,
you have a direction to go. You're not completely. Or my mom had like notebooks, and she took notes on. She had books and books and books of every person we've met, every number, and that kind of stuff. I don't know. When you're going through it all, you're just trying to worry about what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes. And for my mom to see the big picture of things and kind of guide me on the way, that was huge. And like, you know, at the time, I definitely took it for granted. But in hindsight, it was definitely...
Shout out to moms out there.
All the moms, for sure, man. The moms get lots of love. Mama, love you, mama.
So it wasn't easy. I did have to go back to undergrad for 2 semesters. And then I went to school. It took 3 years. It was very rigorous. All the training was very rigorous. It all worked out. And luckily, you know, I definitely doubted myself along the way.
Okay.
Even when I became a professional, I kind of doubted myself. And over the years, you just gain confidence, and it's all experience. It's all how you feel about things. And, you know, to this day, I'm a therapist. I work at the local hospital. I run an adaptive sports and recreation program, which fits perfectly. I'm very lucky. Right place, right time kind of thing.
And we'll advertise a lot of the programs we use.
Job.
Yeah.
But
I know here in South Florida, Broward, we live in Broward County, Fort Lauderdale. So we do have a lot of sports programs and a lot of things that a lot of people with disabilities are able to do. You know, a lot of activities and things. And I know at the end of our episodes, we're going to try to do a lot of that information, share what we have. Hopefully people want to share, you know, that are in other states and other countries, information about their state and country so that other people get involved, you know, because that's one of the main goals, to connect everybody into the shows together.
No, because not everybody knows about resources. I was one of those that didn't know about resources. And if I would have known from the beginning, I think my life would have turned out a lot differently.
Right.
Like when I met you, like 12 years ago, you gave me my independence in the sense of my chair. You gave me information about how to get a chair that was proper for me.
Right.
Because at the time I had something that didn't, you know, it was messing me all up. And then, you know, so when you go to these places like the ones, workshops like the ones that you run and the ones that you put into place, man, the amount of resources and the individuals that you get to connect with is amazing.
And by the way, we can always be reached through our email.
2disabledguys@gmail.com.
Yeah, 2disabledguys and a mic at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Because I know, Paolo, you run a spinal cord injury support group, and that's every third Wednesday, right?
Third Wednesday of the month.
So if people want to know about that group and be involved with Paolo's programs and the support group, and the support group, people think it's just you go there and you tell your story. It's not like that.
No, it's cool.
You go there to learn. I know last month we had the scuba dive people come, amazing team, and they talk about how people with all disabilities can join that program, jump in the ocean and learn and have a whole adventure, you know? So we're going to share that information, and people who want to know about these programs can email us, and we're going to share that information with you guys.
Just to note, most of these programs are for free, right? They're free, or do you have
very low cost? Very low. I always say low to no cost. I don't want to say no cost.
Right, because sometimes you got to, the people got to put their part.
With a little bit of something,
You got to put gas in the car. I mean,
for sure. For
sure. You got to donations, whatever you want to.
Yeah.
It takes your time. You got to invest time into this kind of stuff. So
sure.
We'll follow up with more of that. Just along being a professional, I do. So I work at the hospital. I also work in 2 different schools. I've worked at a bunch of different schools, but I work as a therapist within the schools. Most of the kids are autistic or ADD or some, just a developmental delay. And I always think, what would it be like if I grew up, from day one like this? I was an odd kid to begin with, but I was just an oddball. But so these kids, I can't say I fully understand what they're going through, but I understand life is tough on them, and
for sure.
I make it. Every kid's different, and I do like taking care of. I like giving that gift of what people gave me. What the therapist gave me,
pass it down.
It's a chain. It's totally a
huge
chain.
Difference for sure.
Just keep it going, and that's why I'm here today. I just want to keep it passing it along.
Which is the reason why Jeffrey and I'm telling you, about a year ago, we came up with the idea, and it's like, oh man, let's do it, because how can you reach so many people with great information like we're doing? That's all we're trying to do. Just get together and make it.
Once you become disabled, most of us don't really know what to do, where to go, on who to rely on, and family members good until one point. At one point, you need a different point of view. You need somebody else. You need a friend. You need a spouse.
Personal
you need
things you're going through.
Partner, whatever. You need someone that you can talk to about your personal issues, man. And it's hard.
And it's good to hear it too. There's people out there that watch our show that are going through something simple that they take it so big, and then they hear your story and it's like, whoa, let me slow down, because the next person has it worse than me and they're doing great.
How many clients have we met that they actually say that to us? Be like, wow, so I'm gonna be able to do it. How many people have you met in your profession that said, wow, I'm gonna be fine?
I don't think they realize it right away, but there's it's been done before. They're kind of obviously, it's not, no fairy is gonna come down and bless you, but no magic wand in therapy. People are always like, all right, how do I get my arm back? How do I get my hand back? I'll be like, well, that's the magic thing. I don't have a wand. But this is what we can do today, and in that respect of just everyone's different, but just showing people there's a way. And actually, now that I think of it, my mom had a client that she introduced me to, and he took me to lunch, and me seeing him, and he kind of was grumpy that day, but me just seeing him and him telling me about his life, I was like, it's possible. There's something, there's a life out there for you. You're not, I thought I was just gonna sit at home and collect disability, and my mom's like, you're gonna catch a whooping if that's.
Man,
she was about to get violent.
Back in the day, maybe you could live off your disability check.
Not anymore.
No. But I thought that. I was like, I'm disabled. I'm just gonna sit here in bed. My mom's like, you will die before you. She was like, I will.
That's true.
She was not. She looked at me like, I love having you at home, but this isn't for you.
Yeah,
this is not for you. You are not.
You got so much more to give.
You're not a homebody. Do not. And my dad would cook, and my mom would take care of me. They have a cozy. I was like, oh, I'm getting comfy there. Yeah. And my mom's like, yo, don't get comfy. Do not get comfy.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I got my car, lived with the disability check, just chilling until you want a better life. You need more money. You start working. You got to realize things, So.
That's the other thing. You have to be ready to make that change, because if you're not ready, you're not going to take
and then you learn, which is another episode on top of that. Still keeping your benefits while you work. And knowing all the rules of Social Security, everything that you're able to do, not do. that's a whole other topic.
Knowing the
but
difference of benefits between SSI and
SSDI,
what's
it's a
disability,
lot.
what's not disability. There's a bunch of different.
We'll get there. We'll try to get someone professional to
Definitely.
come in and educate on that
and
stuff.
go over that topic.
But that's great that you chose to get a job, get a career. Phenomenal, man.
Congratulations, man.
For
I'm
sure.
very happy for you. I know you help a lot of people. You know, it's a pleasure having you in our show.
For sure,
man.
Paolo. Thank you, bro. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for telling your story to the people.
Yes,
you
sir.
know, what message would you want to give the people out there to send them home with?
Well, that's a lot. I would just say one day at a time. You know, it's easy to look. It's easy to look back. It's easy to look forward. You could look back. I could look back 12 years and freak out. I could look forward 12 years and be like, how am I going to make this happen in 12 years?
Right.
I would say if there's one takeaway message, you got to just live in today. You got to figure out today. And I don't want to say, you know, you take care of today, tomorrow will take care of itself. But just, you got to live in the moment, take care of yourself.
Enjoy the moment.
It's not easy.
Because you could plan a year ahead, but you never know what happens in between that year. So
not only that, surround yourself with people that uplift you.
Always.
Yeah, I don't even think about that, but that's a no-brainer. But yeah.
For sure. But no, thank you for having
Thank
for being here.
Thank you for being here.
We
man.
appreciate that, and to everybody watching, I hope you enjoyed this episode. You could always hit us up at our email, which is twodisabled@gmail.com. And thank you guys. Peace.
And Paolo will be coming back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He'll be coming back. All right.
Whenever. Invite me back.
All right,
For sure,
he's coming
always.
back.
That's dope. Thank you. Peace.